was thinking this morning of a couple of songs. They've both got the same name, Boulevard of Broken Dreams. One's the well-known, more contemporary one, I suppose, by Green Day. I walk the lonely road, the only one I've ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's only me, I walk alone. I walk this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams. The other one is an older one, Al Dubin. I walk along the street of sorrow, the boulevard of broken dreams, where gigolo and gigolette can take a kiss without regret, so they forget their broken dreams. You laugh tonight and cry tomorrow when you behold your shattered schemes. Both speak about the boulevard of broken dreams, this path that I guess we all walk. The boulevard of shattered dreams, of shattered lives, of shattered hopes. We don't know where it's going. It's the place of grief, of loss, of disappointment, of suffering, of pain, of being out of control, of being alone. The boulevard of broken dreams. I also read another story this morning. It's a story that comes from a couple of thousand years ago. And it's a story that will be read in the online churches across the world this weekend. A story from Luke's Gospel, Luke's story of Jesus. It's called The Road to Emmaus. We don't know where Emmaus is or was. Presumably some distance from Jerusalem, but there's these two disciples, Cleopas and an unnamed one, possibly a woman therefore, walking away from Jerusalem. It's on the day of Easter. But they walk away in despair, alone, lost. They walk away with shattered hopes and broken dreams. They walk away confused, not knowing why or how or what has happened. The week had started so well, and it seemed that the world had embraced Jesus in the way they had. That his charisma, his wisdom, his holiness, his message of life had captured the dreams and the hopes of so many other people. That he was the one who would bring life and liberation, especially within this Roman Empire nightmare. But he wasn't. Because Friday he was on a cross and dead. He didn't deliver what they hoped for, what they promised, what they felt he promised. And now they lived shattered lives and shattered dreams, walking to Emmaus on the boulevard of broken dreams. I guess that's the road we all walk, and probably walking now in a coronavirus world. Things that we'd hoped for, things that we'd planned, things that we'd expected have simply not come to fruition. Plans are put on hold. Lives are put on hold. We're isolated. We're living our lives, but in a different way. And for many, there is this loneliness of broken dreams and hopes. Economic realities that are biting many people's lives, as well as illness and death. It's a hard path, and we don't know where it's leading to. We don't know where this boulevard of coronavirus broken dreams or hopes will lead us. But we don't know that in general life, really, do we? We're drifting along and all is good, then all of a sudden something breaks in and changes our lives. Breaks open our sense of power or control. and we feel lost and out of control and confused, and we don't know what to do. One commentator said that this story of the road to Emmaus, written probably in the 80s of that first century, written into a community, a small community of Christians gathering in the Roman Empire under various Roman emperors and leaders and rulers, and under this thing called the Empire of Rome, struggling with what it meant to be Christian and how to live this life of Christ. And this commentator said it's possible that the question that Luke was answering in this story, apart from other things, was how do we experience the risen Christ in our lives now? 5 or 6 decades after Jesus. 5 or 6 decades after Paul. Well, maybe not 5, 4 or 5 after Paul. How do we experience this? How do we understand it? How do we live in the presence of Christ? Paul's story is just dramatic eruption of apocalypse into his life, that light and voice turning his world upside down. For others it was perhaps more gentle. They flowed into resurrection and confused and disoriented and turned the world upside down, but in a slower, gentle way. This sudden realization that the Christ lived, that death was overcome through resurrection, and that Christ was with them. In this story, Cleopas and the other disciple are walking away on this boulevard of broken dreams, discussing in despairing ways, what are we going to do? Where's life at? And they're joined by a stranger on the path. And he listens to them tell their story. And then he speaks into their story. And he opens it up. He opens up their world, their story, into a bigger, broader, deeper, richer story. The story of grace, of God's presence, of life, of God's people. Opening up the stories of their traditions and their lives, and bringing their story into it. And as he spoke, they said their hearts burned within them. The same life and hope and expectation that they experienced in Jesus, his preaching, his teaching, his life, his way, his being, they were experiencing now. But it was opening up into their story, and they were drawn in. It wasn't just their little lives, it was this bigger picture that they were part of, and God was there. And as they got home, to their home, he kept walking, and they invited him in. And they sat around the table to eat, and the guest became the host. He picked up bread, he blessed it, he broke it and shared it, and their eyes were gently opened, and they knew the risen Christ in their midst. And he disappeared. And the story says something about how when we enter into the deeper story, the stories of life, when we break out of our own little world and allow the bigger, richer stories to embrace us and rewrite our understanding, when we gather with people around a meal at a table and share life, hope and despair and love and pain, when we eat together, tell stories together, share life together, embrace people, strangers into our midst, and welcome them into our home. When we have our eyes open to a world that's bigger, and in this coronavirus world, I guess many more people are walking. I see more out on our walk along the track of Old Toongabbie Creek, or Toongabbie Creek. The beauty. The skies are clearer at the moment. The waters are clearer. The birds are louder without all the background noise of traffic and other stuff. There's a world out there that we're part of, and we can rediscover. You know, the sun's still shining. A new day was born today, and we live in it. The risen Christ is in our midst, on that boulevard of broken dreams where there's pain and sorrow and suffering, where we feel out of control, but maybe learn the lesson that we can give up. When we give up ourselves, when we let go of the control of everything we need and trust in this infinite God. The risen Christ is in our midst. The reign of God is all around us. In the simple little things, when the dog licks your face and wants a pat and wants to play. When the bird lands in your tree and sucks the nectar out of one of the flowers. When the flower bursts open, gum blossoms around the corner. When the sun shines through the trees, it's a metaphor for me of the light of Christ breaking in. Where is Christ, the risen Christ? In our midst. On this boulevard of broken dreams, on this road to Emmaus, on this path we tread, in the confusion and the uncertainty, if we stop and listen and look, the risen Christ is there, always inviting us into this bigger story, this bigger love, this bigger life that God has for each of us and for our world. I invite you to look at some of these photos. When Nico and I were on our walk this morning, I took a camera and tried to capture, very poorly, some of the immense beauty and wonder. Where I saw Christ this morning, experienced Christ this morning. May the risen Christ be with you in this day and in each day as you journey to Emmaus and beyond, to the place where God leads you. Amen.